Hi, this is George Mills, developer of V1Driver, and this is a demo on auto-tolerancing. I'm going to show you first how things work normally. I'm going to go to the map, and let me put the display back to normal just so you know what I'm doing here. I'm going to shoot. The tolerance is set to normal. Or to default. I'm going to show you that I'm going to shoot the two different guns and it'll create two different pins. Let's hit the one gun, and it says one record.
K24.1 behind.
And it shows one record. Now I'm going to shoot the other gun, and you can see it has two records.
K24.2 ahead.
It's just the two pins are right on top of each other. But we don't want it to do that. We want these two guns to be treated as one false with the old way it worked. So we're going to trick it. So first thing I'm going to do is get rid of those two pins. I'm going to drag across the two records, delete only in view, and we'll get rid of those two pins. Now if I go over to settings, we're going to do a few things. First thing I'm going to do is shut auto mute off so it doesn't interfere. And then we're going to go to GPS settings, and we're going to set the tolerance really wide. So let's set it to something like 0.2. And we're just going to do that for now. And so now when I shoot the two guns, we'll get one, it'll stay as one pin. So here's the first one.
K24.1 behind.
And then I'll hit the second gun, and it'll hit the same pin. Okay, because we set the tolerance wide.
K24.2 ahead.
And if I go to the main display, it says duplicate. So if I hit either gun now, it's going to say duplicate because it's basically saying
behind.
The pin's already there, and there's nothing to update on it.
K24.2 side.
So now that we got a wide tolerance set, we want to have a dynamic tolerance that ends up being narrower. So now we'll go to the GPS settings, and we're going to do a few things. To make things move quicker, I'm going to set the minimum time between to 0.001. The smallest I think anything happens is 1 minute in the code. So even though that's smaller than a minute, it's going to run a minute. And I'm going to set the number of statistics it has to calculate, the standard deviation, to 5. So that'll make it happen a little quicker. It's still going to take a while. So now, as I hit the different guns, shoot, this clock is doing wacky things on this select thing. So I'm going to hit the other gun, and it'll probably turn red because we still have the tolerance wide.
K24.2 behind.
And both guns are hitting the same pin. So we might make sure we get statistics from both guns. So I'm going to hit the other gun, and hopefully it will turn it green in a second. If I don't wait long enough, it doesn't do anything. Still not long enough.
K24.1 behind.
Set things happening too quick, it gets a little crazy.
K24.1 behind.
Spent a lot of late nights waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Come on. Still not enough.
K24.1 behind.
We're waiting for a day to pass here. It should hit this time. There it goes. All right, so now it's the normal lockout that's happened quickly in 3 minutes. But if I look at that pin, it still doesn't have enough statistics to calculate the tolerance. It needs 5 hits. We've only got 3. So we got to keep going here. I should have a stopwatch going. I'm going to just guess until we get enough stats. So we got to get like 2 more minutes here of me babbling. Again, I don't know which ones. Probably be nice to put a count in there of how many are actually collected. So I'm just...
KA 33.7 behind 2 bogeys.
It doesn't like this gun being too close to the radar. Otherwise it sometimes pops up as KA. And I'm going to just keep going back and forth between the 2 guns. And again, I got to wait. It's equivalent waiting for 5 iterations or hits. That blue one is the KA that just popped up there on top. Get rid of it. Come on. There it is. I'm going to get rid of that log pin. And I'm going to hit the other gun again. And now we'll tap that pin and see if it has enough statistics now. Might not. Come on. Nope, still not enough. Just going back and forth between the 2 guns. And it's doing its normal job of locking them out. Tapping on it again. 0.163. So that's the tolerance they calculate. You got to keep in mind we only had 5 samples, so it's going to be very crude, the measurement that it came up with. That's why the 14's in there. So it would be a lot more accurate if we had that count much higher. But I also wanted to show that even though it's using the narrower tolerance now, rather than the 0.2 we set, it's still going to lock them out. So that gun locked out. And that one locked out. So 2 guns lock out. So now we can immediately change that tolerance by going to, because this basically auto scales everything of how sensitive you want things to be. So I can just lower this to 2 standard deviations. You can use a fraction of a standard deviation as well. And now if I go to that pin, the tolerance, oh, this clock keeps flipping on me. Come on. Trying to get the info button up. Doesn't like it when that little GPS circle is on there. So now it reduced it to 0.128. And now I'll hit the guns. It's still tight enough to lock out both guns. I'm waiting for that to go away. And it still locks out both guns. So now let's set it. Oops.
K24.2 ahead.
I think that was a little bit of noise there because it did slip through. So now if I go back to this and we'll set it to 1 standard deviation. And go back. See, now it created another pin there. Because, oops, damn. It created another pin because it was out of tolerance. But now if I, in fact, let's do that. We'll go GPS mute. There's one. And if I go to new, where's new? There's a new pin there. So that was the one that was out of tolerance. But now let's get rid of that one for a second. And go back to all. So I set the standard deviations to 1. Let's see what happens. And see, now it's out of tolerance.
K24.2
And it
side.
created another pin. That's on one gun. Let's see what the other gun does. Might create even a third one. It didn't. I was kind of hoping it would.
K24.1 behind.
Yeah, it's just these pins are being drawn on top of each other. So that's how the auto-tolerancing works. So with more statistics, it's more accurate and more consistent. And it should work nicely. But you still have a lot of control over it. Thanks for listening.